All right, let's jump right in. Welcome, leadership team. I am absolutely thrilled to have you all here for this explainer. Today, we're doing something a little different. We're stepping completely out of the day-to-day firefighting and taking a real high-level look at our operations. You can think of this briefing as your executive blueprint. We're going to talk about turning quality control from, just a basic compliance checkbox into a massive strategic advantage. Because as an operations manager, I've seen it time and time again, the difference between an average quarter and a literal record-breaking quarter, it almost always comes down to how well we manage our unseen inefficiencies.
And well, that brings us to the million-dollar question, doesn't it? How exactly do we bridge the gap between process defects and customer satisfaction? Because let's face it, every single defect eats directly into our margins, and every dissatisfied customer chips away at our market share. So today, we're going to unpack the 7 essential tools of quality management. Now, don't tune out. These aren't just technical, in-the-weeds tools for the factory floor. They are literally margin protection mechanisms that every executive needs to understand if we're going to lead a truly efficient organization. Okay, let's dive into this. So here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with mapping operations, move into visualizing priorities, diagnosing root causes, sustaining stability, and then wrap it up with the bottom line.
Okay, Phase 1, mapping and tallying operations, seeing the workflow.
Look, before we can even begin to fix a problem, we have to be able to clearly see it, right? So our first tool is the flowchart. Think of this as the GPS route of our workflow. I mean, you wouldn't try to navigate a cross-country trip without a map, so we definitely can't navigate our business without seeing the exact steps from start to finish. It essentially maps out the actual route our product or service takes, which helps us understand and immediately start improving our workflow.
In practice, it usually maps out kind of like this. Step 1 is the order. Step 2, packing. Step 3, shipping. Step 4, delivery. Now, I know what you're thinking. That sounds incredibly basic, but actually mapping this out across different departments often reveals redundant steps, totally unnecessary delays, and these hidden costs that are just dragging down our efficiency. Once we can see the whole flow, we can finally optimize the route.
Once we actually know the route, we need to know the score. And that brings us to tool number 2, the check sheet. You can think of this as our operational scorecard. Like when you're at a baseball game, you don't try to memorize every single pitch, right? You use a scorecard. A check sheet allows our frontline teams to collect and record daily data super easily without slowing down their actual work. Take a super simple tally tracking daily defects. Under defect, we've got scratches and dents. Under count, we clearly see 10 scratches and 5 dents. This gives us absolute immediate visibility into exactly what is going wrong on the floor today. It takes these vague, frustrating complaints like, hey, we're getting a lot of damaged goods, and transforms them into hard, actionable data.
Moving on to Phase 2, visualizing priorities, finding the bleed. So now that we're actually collecting raw data, we need to make sense of it, right? We have to avoid fixing the wrong things. Tool number 3 is the histogram. Consider this the demographic census of our operational data. By using bars to show how data is distributed, it takes a massive, overwhelming spreadsheet of numbers and instantly reveals the hidden patterns.
For example, mapping out our delivery times might reveal that the vast majority, that high bar, happen in 2 days. Awesome. But we also see a low bar hanging out way over at the 5-day mark. The histogram shows us exactly how wide the variance is in our performance. So we're mostly doing great, but that 5-day tail, that's exactly where our customer satisfaction is taking a massive hit.
Now, to decide if we should actually attack that 5-day tail first, we use tool number 4, the Pareto Chart. I like to call this our 80-20 triage system. Think about it. In an emergency room, doctors treat the bleeding wound way before they look at the sprained ankle. In business, the Pareto Chart helps us find that major problem that's causing the vast majority of our issues. That way, we can focus our capital and our energy there first. A Pareto chart might specifically highlight that late delivery complaints is the towering issue completely dwarfing all other issues. It tells us unequivocally that if we want to improve customer satisfaction and protect our margins, fixing those late deliveries is literally the single most important thing we can do today. Everything else, it's just secondary until this is solved.
Which leads us to Phase 3, diagnosing root causes, moving from the symptom to the actual sickness.
Okay, so we know what the biggest problem is, but we absolutely have to move past just treating symptoms if we want to cure the actual sickness. To do that, we use tool number 5, the scatter diagram. Think of it as the matchmaker. It takes two totally different variables and shows us if they actually have a relationship. It really helps us prove or entirely disprove our hunches about what is causing our defects. Let's say we plot machine temperature against the number of defects. The scatter diagram might show us that when the machine temperature goes up, well, the number of defects goes up right alongside it. Bam! It clearly identifies a direct connection between these two variables, allowing us to pinpoint the specific environmental factor that's driving our costs up.
But, sometimes the problem is way more complex than just two variables. That's when we pull out tool number 6, the Fishbone diagram, which is also known as a cause and effect diagram. This is our comprehensive medical diagnosis. It's specifically designed to help us find the true root cause of a problem, making sure we don't just slap a Band-Aid on a symptom and call it a day.
Let's break down a specific example here. Say our ultimate problem is damaged products. We put that right at the head of the fish. Then we build out the bones to trace things back to the real reasons. Was it a machine issue? Was it a worker mistake? Maybe poor material? By categorizing these potential causes, leadership can direct a really targeted investigation that finds the actual origin of the defect. And that allows us to cure the disease permanently.
All right, phase 4, sustaining process stability, keeping the ship steady.
Because once we cure the disease, we have to make sure the patient stays healthy, right? And ideally, without micromanaging every single detail. The answer to that is tool number 7, the control chart. I absolutely love this analogy. It's the heart rate monitor of our daily operations. Just like an EKG monitors a heartbeat for irregular rhythms, a control chart is used to continuously check whether a process is working normally over time or if it's starting to drift out of bounds. Imagine, for instance, we are running a bottling line. We know exactly how much liquid should go into each bottle. If the control chart shows the filling quantity suddenly changing too much, spiking up and down outside of our acceptable limits, it immediately signals that the process is out of control. So we can stop the line and calibrate long before we ship thousands of defective, overfilled, or underfilled bottles to our customers.
And that brings us to our final phase. Phase 5, the efficiency bottom line, return on quality.
Let's bring all of this together to address what actually matters most to all of us in this room. These aren't just charts to look at. They are a highly cohesive system. When utilized together, these 7 tools allow us to systematically find problems, identify the root causes, dramatically reduce defects, improve our overall quality, and, most importantly, significantly increase customer satisfaction. And honestly, the beauty of this blueprint is its versatility. Whether you're leading manufacturing, directing IT, or managing back-office business processes, these tools work. They slash defects and they skyrocket satisfaction.
So I'll leave you with this final thought and a bit of a challenge. Which of your departments is bleeding efficiency right now simply because they aren't using these 7 tools? It's time to take this blueprint back to your teams. Start mapping, start measuring, and let's start turning our quality control into our greatest competitive advantage. Thank you so much for engaging with this explainer today.